Hey, whoa, hold up there. You gotta wait to the end of the video if you want to see who wins. No, we gotta start from the beginning. And if you clicked on this video, you probably already know what we're gonna do today. But just in case you don't, I'll give you the rundown real quick. We're gonna take two different approaches at coding an AI to play the game of Pong, and then we're gonna face them off against each other and see who wins. But sadly, we're not gonna be able to use some Flash version of the game online, so first things first, we actually need to code the game itself. That way it has access to all the inputs it needs. And for our case, I'm gonna actually code it in Unity because that's what I'm used to and it has a bunch of great built-in 2D tools to help us out. To start things off, I'm gonna build a border around our arena. And even though this won't actually be visible when you're playing, it'll still provide us a way to detect collisions with the ceiling for bounces, as well as a way to detect when it hits one of the sides to give a point to the proper team. And of course, we can't forget the little dashed line in the middle, this little guy right here. So let's just add that in real quick. There we go. Alright, let's click on the play button now and see how it looks in game mode. Okay, everything's looking good so far, and I do like the blue, but the original Pong was black, so I think I'm gonna make this one black too. Okay, yeah, that looks a little more natural. And now that we got that, let's just add in the paddles and ball real quick. Alrighty, and now we get to move on to the fun part of the project that in reality most people hate, but I love, the back end. So the first bit of coding we're actually gonna do is creating a script called ball_movement. And no surprises here, that'll be actually for dealing with the ball movement and all that logic, etc. And with that created, we can just go ahead and double click on that to open it up. What's this? Do I trust the authors? Well, the author is me, so I better hope I trust myself. Yes. And to start, I think I'm just gonna make it go left with nothing special about it. Of course, I'll be speeding up all this in post, so to you, I'll be typing at like Mach 10 speeds right now. And with that done and ready to go, we can actually click the play button now and see this game in action.
The sky is falling!
Okay, we're gonna need to take another try at that real quick. Yeah, that's strike two. Here we go again.
Yeah!
Oh god, finally, that was supposed to be the easy part. But at least we can move on to the bounce physics of the ball, where if it hits the top side of the paddle, it bounces up, and if it's the bottom side, it bounces down. This shouldn't actually be too hard to code though, because we can just take the Y value of the ball and the Y value of the paddle, subtract them, and then do a little basic geometry math to figure out the trajectory. Yes, I'm hoping everybody out there remembers their SOHCAHTOA from 8th grade math. I bet you never thought you'd use that again. And for the maximum angle, I think I'm just going to choose something like 45 degrees, that seems about right. So if it's the very top of the paddle, it'll bounce up at a 45 degree angle. If it's very bottom, it'll bounce down at a 45 degree angle. And if it's the middle, it'll obviously just bounce off straight. Yeah, I mean, you get the gist. And while we're at it, let's also code some movement for the paddles. I'll control the left one with WASD, and then I'll control the right one with the arrow keys, because we have no AIs to play against right now. Okay, now that that's all done, let's head back into the game and see how it plays. Oh, would you look at this? First try, it's working. We have gameplay. I will say though, something does seem to be missing right now. Ah, yes, of course, the scoreboard. Yeah, sadly this isn't consequence-free Pong. We do actually need to decide which of the AIs is better. And speaking of which, it's finally actually time to code one of them. This way I don't have to play with two hands anymore. Now this one is gonna be really simple. It's basically how you'd think you'd code a Pong AI. It's just gonna use some basic trig calculations to see where the ball currently is and where it was a few frames ago, calculate that angle, and project that trajectory onto the wall. If the location is above our current Pong paddle, then it'll move up to meet it and hit the ball. And vice versa, if it's below, it'll move down. So let's get that coded up real quick. Alright, there we go, it's all coded up, let's see how it runs. Alright, beautiful, it looks like it's working right off the bat. And as you can see, I actually coded the Pong paddle to have a little bit of leeway with it moving, so it doesn't always try to hit the ball in the center of the paddle. I figured that would give it some better hits rather than always hitting it straight forward. And of course, I'm still controlling the left paddle, but that'll be replaced soon with the other AI. Ooh, I don't know why it's stuck on the ceiling like that. That's no problem, I'll just fix it in the next section. And of course that next section is actually going to be coding the other AI. Now I want this one to be a little more complex, so I'm going to choose an evolutionary AI here. And for our purposes, I think the NEAT algorithm will work just fine. And for those of you that don't know what the NEAT algorithm is, I'll quickly give you a very simple explanation. But if you actually want to know more about it, there is plenty of YouTube guides explaining it much better than I will. So basically with NEAT, you're going to have a certain amount of inputs. And those inputs are going to go into what I like to call the magic wand. but in reality it's just a bunch of math under the hood. And that magic slash math will output however many outputs you designate. And those outputs will be applied to whatever unit you're trying to control with the AI, which in our case is the Pong paddle. And from this, that specific unit will be given a fitness score based on the parameters that you define. And if we zoom out, we'll see that this unit is a part of a population of units, all with their own individual fitness scores. Then each generation, those units with the highest fitness scores will survive, and with a little bit of random mutation, they'll reproduce into the next generation. And of course, the cycle will continue until the fitness score reaches a threshold that you decide on. Like for our case, that'll probably just be when the paddle's no longer missing any balls. Now, luckily for us, someone has already implemented this code into C# for Unity, which will save us a lot of time. So we can just head over to that GitHub and grab it real quick. And thank you to Lord Jesus for setting this up for us. Okay, wow, that feels weird to say outside of church. But before we get started on adapting that code, I'm going to quickly touch on how we're actually going to train the AI. Now we could take the easy way out and just train it against the wall, and that'd be simple because it would remove a lot of extra parameters and be way easier to code. But we're not here for just simple, we're here to do this right. So I think we should train the new evolutionary AI against the other AI it'll end up facing. Kind of like a Padawan learning to beat its master if we want to get all nerd about it. And considering we're coding 2 AIs to play the game of Pong, I think we are getting nerd about it. This won't be too bad though, we'll just have to do some fun stuff with layers, and we'll be limited in total population size since you can only have a certain number of layers in Unity. But now that we understand what we have to do, let's adjust some code real quick so that a Pong game spawns on each layer. Next up, we gotta discuss what our inputs and outputs are gonna be for the NEAT algorithm. And I wanna try to make it as realistic as possible, where the only inputs are those things that a human would be able to see very easily as well. So for our case, I think that would be the ball X position, the ball Y position, the paddle Y position, and then the opponent paddle's Y position. Yeah, so all these inputs will go into the magic wand, and out will come a number between 0 and 1. And that number will be actually what's used to move the paddle. And considering our paddle's options are binary, either move up or down, I think the best way to do that will just be to split the number in half and say 0 to 0.5 you go down and 0.5 to 1 you go up. And of course there's increasing velocity depending on how far the number is from 0.5. And while we're here, let's also talk about the fitness function real quick. And after a little bit of thinking, I've decided the most appropriate way to measure the fitness of a Pong paddle is to take the positive traits like ball hits and points won, and subtract the negative traits like points lost and distance from the ball when you miss it. And of course each value will have its own weight applied to it, because they're not all equivalent in importance. So yeah, let's go over and code that up. With that done, it's finally time to run the training program for the first time. Let's go. Okay, so obviously that wasn't supposed to happen, but I think I know the issue. I was only having one layer name per layer, and when they were getting deleted, sometimes it would linger and cause a layer overlap issue. So if I just increase the number of layer names by a multiplication factor of the number of layers, then I should basically solve this issue. So let's give this another shot. Okay, it's looking pretty good. I think I'm comfortable to speed this up and get the party rolling again. Phew, we got through the whole training with no issues, and now we can see how much it's actually learned. Okay, it's doing alright. I do feel like it's spazzing out a little bit too much, and it's missing way more balls than it should be after this amount of training. I think we might need to head back to the drawing board real quick to make some adjustments. So Pong is a pretty simple game, and I think we might have overcomplicated things here. I think I want to start by taking these two inputs and sending them up north to a farm. Yeah. Yeah, don't worry, they'll be okay. For sure. But with them out of the picture, we can add back in a new input variable. The relative X position, basically how far from the paddle the ball is, rather than just the ball's absolute X position. And to take a look again at the fitness function, we're actually going to slice everything out except for just balls hit. Keep it as simple as possible. And with that all finished, I think we're ready to go back into another training montage. Finally. Now for you guys that was probably just like 20 seconds, but for me that was hours of waiting for it to finish. But now that that's complete, let's see if all these changes we made have actually worked out or not. Oh yeah baby, that is way better. It's like following the ball now, it's not spasming nearly as much, and I don't think it's missing any of them. I think we're finally ready for that showdown I promised you. But don't worry, it won't be a slow game like this. The great thing is I designed this to be scalable, so I can increase the speeds of the paddles and the ball proportionally, and the game will speed up without messing with either of the AIs. So clench your butts and tighten your seatbelts, because we're about to get started. Okay, so as you saw, the Evolutionary AI actually did win that battle, but I'm not giving up just yet. I want to give the hard-coded AI a fighting chance. So let's show that point again right here to see how it actually happened. Okay, that's a little fast. Let's slow it down so we can actually see it more clearly. Yeah, I see what the problem is. We're definitely going to need to upgrade the way it predicts trajectories here. So let's freeze frame right before the point is scored and talk about how we can fix this. Currently, if the ball is predicted to hit the ceiling or the floor, the paddle doesn't actually take that into account and it'll just try to move outside the bounds of the arena. But luckily this is actually a really simple fix because the distance it was going to hit below the arena is equivalent to the distance it would bounce up and hit within the arena. So if we just do a little subtraction there, we can just move the paddle to the correct position at all times. And voila, the hard-coded AI is now smarter and can predict ceiling and floor bounces, meaning it would not have lost the point it just did in that battle. So how about we hop back in and give him a chance to prove his worth now. Okay, whoa, calm down. I know you're probably saying, hey, I thought you upgraded the hard-coded AI. It wasn't supposed to lose again. That is not what I said. I did upgrade it, but that doesn't mean it still can't lose. And I did run the simulation countless times with the Evolutionary AI always winning in a shutout without fail. So let's look at what happened here. Starting with the Evolutionary AI, look what happens after he hits the ball here. Notice how it kind of follows the Y position of the ball as it moves down. What that does is it limits the ability of the opposing paddle to hit at what we call a kill shot, basically one that's hit too far away that you don't have the time to react and go hit it. So as you can see, once the opposing paddle finally does hit the ball, it only has a limited range of trajectories that it can actually hit the ball back within. And that entire range is within the evolutionary paddle's movement zone. So if we then move our focus to the hard-coded paddle and look at that point that was just scored on it, you'll notice that as the evolutionary paddle is about to hit the ball back to him, he is way too high and not following the y-axis of the ball at all. And so if we look at the possible range of trajectories that the ball can move in, you'll notice that the bottom sliver is actually out of the movement zone of the hard-coded paddle. And sadly, that is exactly where the evolutionary paddle hit it, and therefore got a point. Now, of course, I could continue to fine-tune the hard-coded AI and account for this case and any future case that shows up, but I think we're starting to defeat the purpose of the video. I'd say the fact that the evolutionary AI was able to learn all these tricks without it being told to means it's the winner of this battle and the better Pong AI. But don't worry, I know a lot of you want to keep watching them battle it out, so I'll leave it on the background while I close out. Well, thank you everyone for watching the video, especially those of you that have made it this far. It means a lot to me. If you could, please like and subscribe, that would also help me out a lot. And comment down below anything you'd like, positive or negative about the video, or possible future video ideas that are similar to this one. I have a few in mind, but I'm always open to new suggestions.